Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm not here with Geeky Sparkles. I'm going to talk about Hollywood being in deep doo-doo. For a variety of reasons, it looks like they're not going to get that $750 million bailout they wanted to keep productions in California. We're going to talk about that. And then another part of this video is going to be Lionsgate being one of the first major studios to flat out say, yeah, they're going to go all in on AI. And these two things are related, really, because studios are going to look to cut back on expense. And part of cutting back on expense, I believe, is moving production out of California. And they were kind of hoping that they were going to get this lifeline. I don't think they're going to get this lifeline. Now, the good news is for people who are maybe independents or work outside the studio system, movies can be made anywhere, and they will soon be able to be made significantly cheaper with the advent of AI. Now, yeah, it's going to replace some jobs. It's absolutely going to, some people are going to be gone from the industry. But unfortunately, this happens every time there's a huge technological revolution, right? This happened with CGI, too. A lot of 2D animators were displaced. People who did practical effects were displaced. And I remember very well CGI artists being kind of like neener, to some of these people. Like, well, you're just old. The meteor has hit the dinosaurs. And I'm like, well, we all become dinosaurs at some point in time. I am excited to see what could potentially happen in the right hands. I do think we're going to also get a lot of crap because AI is not a creativity machine. It's a useful tool if you know what you're doing. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people who don't know what they're doing are going to get a hold of it. But I mean, it's the same way with CGI or any other kind of, a camera. Give someone an iPhone, say, make a movie. Depending on who it is, you could get a masterpiece or you could get a disaster piece, right? So it all depends on who's in charge. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that. But first, we're going to talk about the money aspect of it. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Check out news.clownfishtv.com. This comes from The Wrap. The timing of California's $750 million film tax credit plan in doubt as state budget cuts way down the process. All right. So there's a pair of bills set to expand California's film tax credit. They passed their first floor votes in Sacramento this week. Confidence is high that the much-touted $750 million benefit will soon be on its way for productions that will keep jobs in Hollywood. But there isn't a clear answer on what soon means, as the co-authors of the bill are racing to get their bill past the remaining legislative hurdles and get funding approved. The budget process has been thrown into uncertainty by factors ranging from the Trump administration's tariffs. Why is everything about the tariffs? To LA's wildfire recovery efforts that have left lawmakers unclear on whether the full amount, about double the current tax credit, will be funded. State Assembly members Isaac Bryan and Rick Chavez Zeber, two co-authors of the Jobs Act, told The Wrap on Wednesday they're very confident that the bills that would expand the types of productions eligible for tax incentives and offer a 35% tax rate to LA-based productions will pass, along with the proposed increase of the program's cap from $330 million to $750 million. Our colleagues know we can't let this industry slip. They said $750 million, while it's a lot of money and a desperately needed amount of money to keep the jobs that this industry is producing, is a small fraction of our overall budget. Yeah, that's like 2 Marvel movies. That's basically it's 2 Marvel movies. So I mean, I don't know. It said language that called for the cap increase was removed from the 2 Job Act bills during the Budget Committee hearings prior to their nearly unanimous floor vote passage this week. Lawmakers said the language was ultimately unnecessary, as the cap increase is still included in Newsom's revised budget proposal, despite the remarks the local industry has already slipped significantly. Yeah, they said it's down 20%. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's worse than that. Only 20% of U.S. movie and TV productions are made in California, a steep slide over the past 20 years, according to industry studies. It's gotten worse since the pandemic. It's gotten much, much worse. It's gotten worse since the strikes, because studios are looking at this and they're like, yeah, we can't afford to pay a whole bunch of people to make a whole bunch of programs and movies that nobody's going to watch and pay $300 million or whatever for it. They said that 2024 was the worst year on record for local filming, with the first quarter of 2025 declining another 22% year over year. State's Film Commission says that between 2020 and 2024, California lost an estimated $1.6 billion in production spending due to limited tax credit funding. Said California is in a race against time as other states and overseas locations update their own programs to stay ahead in a global competition for production money. And that's just it. Entertainment production is now a global thing. It's global. You don't have to be in Hollywood. It made a lot of sense when all of the studios and the celebrities, when they were all in California, but now people can work from anywhere. We had an interview with Mark Miller on the DREZZED podcast a couple days ago. And Mr. Miller sold his comic book publisher company to Netflix, and now he oversees, TV production and stuff like that too. And he lives in Scotland, right? Like, you can literally live anywhere. You technically could live in like Antarctica and do work that passes through the Hollywood system, since the Hollywood system is in the decline, and technology, Silicon Valley actually is what is next. Entertainment and technology are going to fuse, and it's going to be a huge problem for a lot of people that aren't very tech savvy. In my opinion, it's also a huge problem if you're trying to keep entertainment geographically tethered, right? It just doesn't make a lot of sense, especially if there are cheaper places to work, cheaper people to hire. People who aren't going to bully you into submission. See also the unions. The unions, I think, are going to be gone in the not too distant future because it makes everything cost more and the ball is no longer in their court. And we're going to talk about this because AI is definitely coming. And Lionsgate, they're flat out saying that they're going to use it to adjust movie ratings and create kid-friendly cuts of movies. So we're going to have like G-rated John Wick. This comes from Variety. These things are related. These things are connected because it's all just, everything is changing. It's changing so fast that Hollywood cannot keep up with it. The law can't keep up with it. It's wild. Lionsgate boss says studio can use AI to adjust a movie's rating and create kid-friendly cuts. Do it anime, make it PG-13. 3 hours later, I'll have the movie. Well, that's oversimplifying it a bit. Has he actually worked with AI? Because it's not really that simple, not yet. So Lionsgate announced last September it inked a deal with AI startup Runway to allow filmmakers the chance to augment their work and help the studio enhance and supplement their operations. The pact was touted as Runway's first deal with a Hollywood studio. So how exactly does Lionsgate plan to use AI? Vice Chairman Michael Burns recently spoke to New York Magazine and said his studio is trying to see what sticks when it comes to AI. He said the driving force behind the Runway deal was to allow filmmakers to make movies and television shows we'd otherwise never make. We can't make it for $100 million, but we'd make it for $50 million because of AI. We're banging around the art of the possible. Let's try some stuff. Let's see what sticks. That to me is the ideal use of AI. It's not taking humans out of the equation entirely. It's letting people do more with less resources, which means that you're going to get more experimentation. And I think that's exciting because if it cost, let's say you're like, okay, I've got some great idea for a sci-fi epic. And under the old studio system, this thing would have cost $250 million. And it's like a brand new franchise. It's not a Star Wars thing. It's not a Star Trek thing. Brand new. Hey, I want to make this movie. And even if you're a name director or whatever, and you've got, credentials, they're going to laugh you out of the room. They're going to be like, we're not spending $250 million on, Battlefield Earth 2 or whatever the hell, you want to make. That's not going to happen. So, but if you come to them and you say, hey, using AI, we can make this $250 million movie for $50 million. And then they might be like, you know what? Okay, sure. We'll give it a shot. And again, that was something that came up in the conversation with Mark Miller, because just imagine you could take a $300 million budget and stretch it further and get 6 movies for the price of one Marvel movie. And one of those movies might be good. I mean, you might have 6 stinkers, but I don't think those movies are going to feel as cheap Because I mean, you look at Godzilla minus one, and you look at some of the stuff that like A24 is doing. Those movies don't feel cheap. It used to be back in the day, you could tell something was low rent, it was low budget, and now not so much. Even Lilo and Stitch, right? Regardless of what you think about the movie, it made a ton of money, and it was $100 million movie, and it was supposed to be for Disney Plus. It wasn't supposed to be theatrical, and they tweaked it, I guess, a little bit to get it to the place where it was, show ready for theatrical. It made them a lot of money. It's going to make a lot of profit because it was a cheap. I don't have $100 million, but relatively inexpensive movie by Disney standards. Again, this is exciting because I want to see new stuff again. I want to see new stuff. I'd rather people make new stuff, and if it's dog shit on its own merit, that's fine. Just stay away from these franchises and these movies that we've loved for years. Make some new stuff. Maybe it feels somewhat like it, but and I think we're going to get more. We're going to be able to take more chances. That is my ideal use of AI, and on the more granular level, artists and creatives being able to augment their own natural ability with AI. Letting the AI do some of the heavy lifting so they can focus on creating things. But you still need a human in control. It's just instead of having 100 people working on a project or a part of a movie or whatever, you only need like 10. That's the difference. And yes, people are going to lose their jobs. I mean, they're going to. But I mean, I guess it's the same logic as saying, we feel really bad for the horsewhip manufacturer association. So we got to, we can't move forward with producing cars, mass producing cars, Mr. Ford, because the buggy whip people will be out of work. What do we do about them? You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens. Technology marches on, right? So as reported by New York Magazine, with a library as large as Lionsgate, they could use Runway to repackage and resell what the studio already owns, adjusting tone, format, and a rating to generate a softer cut for a younger audience or convert a live action film into a cartoon. I could see that happening very easily. I mean, you see what's going on with the Ghibli memes. I could see them taking a live action movie and being like, fine, we'll just make an anime version of it. I mean, it might even get to a point where it's cheaper to just, I guess, trace, and it sounds really lame, but to like trace over existing film footage with an anime filter, a very advanced. I'm not talking like garbage. I'm talking like a very advanced filter. And you technically could like composite different shots together and then have consistent characters and piece together this quote unquote anime using the help of AI. And you're still going to need people involved in that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like this guy has never really worked with it because he's like, yeah, we're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Just snap it, 3 hours. I'm going to have a movie. I'm like, no, dude. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Just my opinion. Like, I think you need some people to have experience with this stuff, but good luck with that. Cause I think they're all afraid to go near Hollywood because of the way things are right now. Burns said the studio can use AI to take one of their signature action franchises like John Wick and the Hunger Games, do it in anime, make it PG-13. 3 hours later, I'll have the movie. No, it's not that simple, dude. It's not that simple. I understand what you're saying, but it's not that simple. The executive stressed he would still have to pay the actors and all other rights participants, adding, but I can do that, and now I can resell it. Yes, that's the thing. I'm not talking about replacing people completely. I'm talking about using it to maybe create a cut of the movie that wouldn't have existed otherwise. You cannot cut people out of it completely. You can't. As for another example of how the studio can use AI, Burns said to consider this scenario. We have this movie. We're trying to decide whether to greenlight. There's a 10-second shot. Yeah, here we go. 10,000 soldiers on a hillside with a bunch of horses in a snowstorm. Using AI technology, the studio can avoid a pricey film shoot that would cost millions and take a few days. Use AI to create that shot for about $10,000. He wasn't sure the film would be made at all, but the math was working. So he stressed several filmmakers in the studio works with were already excited about the potential applications to their pre-production, post-production processes. It's already happening. They're just not telling you about it. I'm seeing some stuff in some movies and some trailers as somebody who's fairly familiar with AI. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, that was done with this, and that was done with this. And yeah, they're already using it. They're just not telling you. They're not telling you because they don't want the unions jumping down their throats. They don't want the backlash from the media. But eventually it is going to become acceptable to make movies in AI. And eventually one of these AI augmented movies will probably win an Academy Award, just like the $3 million Blender animated movie did. And then at that point, it'll be like, you know, people are going to look back and be like, yeah, remember when everybody was like freaking out over AI and it turned out to be kind of a big nothing burger? It's just kind of like, it just becomes kind of the new normal. I remember so much shrieking over Toy Story when it came out from 2D animators. I remember film reviewers saying that there's no way 3D animation would work because nobody could sit through an hour and a half of 3D animation. It was going to hurt your eyes. Yeah, and actually what wound up being a fad was 3D, just 3D, like actual 3D glasses and that whole thing. Like it, remember everything was 3D, TVs were 3D and all stuff. Everything's in 3D now, guys. Got to go see the 3D movies. And then we went from like, go see the 3D movies so that theaters can charge more to like, buy this popcorn bucket for $50. You know, that's where everything went. Like, it's so weird. It was, there was this era, we're about 5 or 6 years where everything was 3D, guys, 3D. And then people were like, yeah, 3D movies kind of suck. They really do. I remember going to see Tron Legacy in 3D, and I walked out of the theater because it was so dark. Like everything in Tron's black, right? So it's all like really like black, glassy, whatever surfaces, and you know, just some light piping. And I walked out of the theater and I felt like I was going to like walk into everything. Like nothing looked real. It was like, oh, the movie looked realer than reality, but everything was just, yeah, it was a very weird experience. And you know, part of it's because I'm nearsighted and I've got like Coke bottle glasses, but it was just like, I'm not really into it. I can do it in short bursts. I can play VR for a while, but I don't want to watch my movies in 3D. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it's looking bad for Hollywood. Let's just wrap it up with that. It's looking pretty bad for Hollywood as we've known it. It's ending. And there's going to be a new reality, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. And I do believe the strikes 100% sped the process up because they looked at it and they're like, yeah, we cannot be down for a year because some people want to make sure that they're paid for jobs that don't even really need to exist anymore. That's the reality of it. So I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.